Here's a look at our lineup today here on the Now. There's a shortage of special nurses who help sexual assault victims and make sure that they know their rights. What's being done to fill the gap? Now, these aren't your typical museum guides. We're going to show you the unique approach a place is using to share firsthand cultural knowledge. And it's a new work benefit you may not expect. A third of large employers surveyed say they plan to offer counseling in the office this year. We're going to take a look into whether that's really the best place to get treatment.
Thank you, Chris. I'm Amanda Starantino, and you're watching the Now Indy. A Johnson County couple is taking a terrible time in their lives and turning it into a mission to help others navigate some of the pitfalls that almost ruined them. Our TV6's Troy Washington is working for you to explain how buying a cup of coffee at their shop actually means investing in a family's future.
The steamed espressos made here at Coffee House 5 might be served with caffeine, but that's not the pick-me-up the shop is known for.
Somewhere in the range of 200,000 plus in terms of value of counseling services that we've provided to the community for free over the last 8 years or so.
That's right, this isn't your typical business.
Why don't we use a coffee shop to generate the revenue?
When customers walk in and see these prices, the couple wants them to know that money goes right back into healing families. This lawyer turned barista and now certified counselor says this is all divine intervention.
We had lots of difficulty in our marriage early on. The first 10 years were pretty rough. Most of that was due to my alcoholism. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been in recovery for 25 years now.
Their struggles led to a separation that didn't last, but as they rebuilt a marriage that would last a lifetime, they found themselves in a position to save families.
We then quite literally had people start to show up on our doorstep and ask for help with their marriages.
The two offer marital counseling to mend marriages, but they also offer addiction counseling, and now they are even setting aside money to help those battling mental illness.
I started to research the barriers to counseling, and that was the #1 barrier, the cost.
So now that coffee covers the cost, couples have no excuse when it comes to getting help they need before it's too late. Working for you in Franklin, Troy Washington, RTV6.
We talked to the couple at their newest shop in Franklin. The shop will hold a soft opening tonight, but won't officially open until tomorrow morning. This is the couple's second store. The other Coffee House 5 is located in Greenwood. And in Knightstown, there's a new place you can go if you need a little help getting some food or just something to wear, and it's free. It's called Stacy's Sharing Closet and the Panther Pantry. Now, volunteers converted an old storage room at the Knightstown Intermediate School into a boutique-style clothing and food pantry for members of the surrounding area. You don't have to have kids attending Knightstown schools to have access to the clothing and food pantry, and you don't even have to be from Henry County. School officials say this is an important addition to the community.
I love that families, can come in here and shop, and it's a boutique-like atmosphere. No judging, just come in here, get what they want, and it's as you can see, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful place for them to come in and shop and feel safe.
The boutique and food pantry are open by appointment only. They also have school supplies, shoes, and toiletries. If you would like to donate, you can contact Knightstown Intermediate School to help out. Kevin.
You're looking at true humidity in the air. Those are cumulus clouds, flat on the bottom like a cotton ball, growing a little bit vertically in the sky. Those will fade away once the sun sets. That sets up a situation here where skies will be mostly clear. They did produce a few showers north and east of Indy earlier this afternoon. 42 is the peak gust of wind in Lafayette. Remember I told you last hour 46 for Indianapolis. Still very windy. The showers have left the scene and we're starting to see skies clear. There's still more cloud cover to the north and east, but as we saw looking at Indy, a mixture of clouds and sunshine. Temperatures, they'll be steady in the 40s through the evening. The wind will gradually calm down. Once the sun sets, that will stop the mixing in the atmosphere, and so that rising air will grab hold of some of the upper level winds, say a few thousand feet above ground level, and help drag those down to the surface during the day, but that cycle gets cut off once the sun sets and we start to cool the atmosphere, so we'll see some improvement there. Temperatures, they're in the 50s now. Get used to that. Temperatures stay in the 50s until we get to Friday. Your evening planner. Skies are becoming clear. Temperature by 11 o'clock down to 42 degrees.
Doctors are on heightened alert of the coronavirus, especially those who deal with elderly patients. People have already died from the illness at a nursing home in Washington state.
We were anticipating that the outbreak in long-term cares, or the outbreaks that would occur in long-term care would occur at some point down the line. We weren't anticipating quite this early. So,
two different groups that represent senior and long-term care living facilities and workers put out updated guidelines in response to coronavirus. Dr. David A. Nace says if a patient were to test positive, they wouldn't necessarily be moved out. It depends on their personal care plan. Things like, are they near the end of life, or had they expressed wishes of not going back to the hospital? He says if a person doesn't need to be hospitalized, it is likely safer for them to stay.
When you move somebody out, you're exposing the EMS team. You're exposing all the people that are involved in the transport process all the way through the hospital ER and the hospital itself. So,
senior and long-term care communities are building onto plans they have for other more common outbreaks. Limiting visitors and entrances to facilities could be part of the response. Healthcare workers and visitors that are sick should not go to long-term care facilities. Dr. Nace says that facilities should be communicating these plans to families, and you should ask if you haven't heard. He also has advice for those caring for aging loved ones at home if coronavirus is in the community. He says they should avoid large groups of people who are sick, and practice extra hand hygiene, arrange alternative care if possible if they do end up getting sick. The U.S. Federal Reserve is taking emergency action today in response to the coronavirus's impact on the economy. It cut interest rates by 0.5 percentage point. Rates are now in the range of 1 to 1.25%. It is the single biggest cut since the 2008 financial crisis. The Fed chairman says the coronavirus will impact economic activity worldwide for some time. The rate cut was to help keep the U.S. economy strong. 7 states and Washington, D.C. want the federal government to forgive student loans for people with disabilities. Now, there are about 53,000 student borrowers who would be impacted by this. The Trump administration already agreed to forgive loans for veterans with disabilities. Well, let's get back to our lineup. It's a new work benefit that you may not expect. 1/3 of large employers surveyed say that they plan to offer counseling in the office this year. We're going to take a look into whether that's really the best place to get treatment.
Call Keller & Keller right now.
Welcome back to the Now Indy. A state lawmaker is not giving up on implementing a law that requires Hoosier school children to learn cursive writing. This is the 9th straight session that Senator Jean Lysing of Oldenburg has introduced this legislation. It passed the Senate today by a vote of 42-8 as an amendment to a House bill. She keeps pushing for it because she says cursive writing is not included in the Common Core curriculum, and today's young people are not able to validate their driver's license or sign agreements. The bill now goes back to the House for further consideration.
As more people talk about the importance of mental health, employers are getting on board and offering a new perk, and that's therapy at work. We're talking big companies like Dell, Delta, LinkedIn, and Visa bringing in mental health professionals. Employees have access to one-on-one sessions with therapists, usually for an hour and at no cost. Experts at the American Psychological Association say the workplace may actually be the perfect spot to help people access mental health care.
Most adults spend most of their day in the workplace, and so in some ways it becomes a really natural place for an intervention to occur. In addition to helping people manage both their psychological distress, it could also improve workplace distress.
Now, being able to talk to a therapist at work may also help with other obstacles like taking time off for a therapy session, transportation, or making sure you have childcare. Experts also say it can help employees be better at work.
They're often more mentally and physically present in the workplace. They don't leave work early or show up late. They report less psychological and work distress, and they're more engaged in their work so that they're actually more productive, and that has huge benefits for the organization as a whole.
The American Psychological Association says 45 minutes to an hour session they have proven to be the most effective for employees. All right, ahead in our lineup here in the Now, a special type of nurse can make all the difference for sexual assault victims. We're looking into what's being done to make sure that victims still get this help in knowing their rights.
Aboard, RTV6 is working for you.
Let's start the Now news feed. The University of Houston looking to make college more affordable to families. The school will waive tuition for students who come from families that make $65,000 a year or less. This will start for students who begin college this fall. Interest on new vehicle loans is lower than last year. APR rates were at 5.6% in February. That is the 8th straight month of being under 6%. Goodyear trying to find the future of tire changes. Imagine instead of switching out your full tire, Goodyear Recharge plans to make a new tread on your existing one. Company says it would use a liquid compound to restore the tread. It's unclear when this could actually happen. Museums around the world, they often showcase historic artifacts and artworks from all kinds of places. One museum's taking it a step further by hiring tour guides who can speak firsthand about what's on display. They're immigrants and refugees from those places. Maya Rodriguez has the story.
Amid these treasures from Africa,
I will tell you how people live.
Selemani Sikasaba feels right at home. Literally.
My ancestors used some of them.
Selemani is part of the Global Guides program at the Penn Museum in Philadelphia.
I share my own stories.
He's one of 7 guides offering tours of galleries with exhibits that represent the regions they come from. Some are immigrants, while others, like Selemani, are refugees. He fled his home in the Democratic Republic of Congo and spent 19 years in Tanzania as a refugee before coming to the U.S. 5 years ago.
I left my country because of the war. There's war in my country.
For the museum, the program offers a chance to back up their collections with real-life experiences.
The more I talk about this, the more it occurs to me that this is kind of a no-brainer.
Ellen Owens is the museum's director of engagement. She says the museum found that the Global Guides helped attract 300 more visitors just in the last 3 months.
We really wanted people to feel more connected to our objects. When objects are so old, 5,000, 7,000 years old, it's really hard to bridge the gap between now and life way back then.
The Global Guides program got its start in 2018 here in the Mideast Gallery. But then last year, they were able to expand the program to other galleries, including the Africa Gallery. For Selemani, it's a chance to talk about things on display from his home country.
I'm happy in United States because I'm free. I work anytime I want to go to work, and I feel safe where I'm living.
Living and sharing his home culture in his new home in Philadelphia.
And this side, we have...
I'm Maya Rodriguez reporting.
A woman will be taking the helm at DePauw University in Greencastle. The Board of Trustees voted unanimously today to appoint Dr. Lori White as DePauw's 21st president. She is currently the vice chancellor for student affairs at Washington University in St. Louis. When she takes over on July 1st, she will be the only African-American woman leading a university in Indiana and one of the few in the nation to do so. She succeeds Mark McCoy, who announced in May he would step down at the end of this academic year. He's been president since July 2016.
And we'll show you the DePauw Weather Now camera, and you can see just a few fair weather clouds that will continue to fade away this evening as our sky goes clear. Let me take you down to Cookeville, Tennessee. This is about 80 miles east of Nashville, one of the hardest hit areas. By this kind of town square area, you would think nothing happened there. I think 17 fatalities have been confirmed there, 25 in total then in Tennessee. So this community, which is along I-40, east of Nashville, the hardest hit. And of course, you'll continue to hear more about that through the evening news, and I'm sure we'll lead world news with David Muir. And windy next 24 hours in central Indiana. Generally dry. We could have a shower north of Indy in the morning tomorrow, briefly. Next 2 days, temperatures in the 50s. That chance for rain, snow Friday morning is minimal, 20% chance basically. 53, that's our current temperature. The wind is howling west at 29, but we've had gusts of 46 in the metro area. Through the evening hours, temperatures just slowly dropping about 6 degrees between 7 and 10, and the skies will be clear. In the morning hours tomorrow, plan on temperatures mid-30s north to upper 30s. That's our launching pad, and here's the arrival into the 50-degree club by noon tomorrow. Lower 50s, your afternoon high.
Improving your experience on airplanes. That was the focus of a committee hearing on Capitol Hill today. Witnesses spoke on problems facing passengers, and that includes families paying fees just to sit with their kids. Consumer Reports testified the Department of Transportation said there was a low number of complaints and didn't warrant action.
Shocked by DOT's inaction, we created an online portal and soon forwarded over 600 complaints, more than 4 times DOT's original total.
Some kids in the complaints were as young as 1 or 2 years old, making it a safety issue. Airlines have maintained that they have policies to help seat children with parents, but Consumer Reports says the complaints show that these policies aren't always followed. Well, there's a national shortage of a specific type of nurse that treats victims of sexual assault. Elizabeth Ruiz found that means some survivors are not receiving specialized care that could help them heal.
Amanda Dufresne Lee is a sexual assault survivor.
I was on my daily run training for my first half marathon when I was attacked, beaten, and raped by a stranger.
It happened in August of 2003. She was a college student in Waco, Texas. While she was running, something hit her head from behind and she fell to the ground.
And I turned to put my hand up, thinking someone would help me up, and instead he picked me up by my throat.
Nearly 2 decades later, her memory of the traumatic experience unfortunately hasn't faded.
I narrowly escaped with my life by rolling myself over a small cliff and running half-clothed to safety. I like to say that was the easy part, and everything that followed that was an absolute nightmare.
But she says there is a part of her story she looks back on in a positive way.
I had 2 incredible nurses who were empathetic and warm and kind and patient, who were there for me in absence of family or friends.
Following her assault, Amanda was treated by a specific type of forensic nurse known as a sexual assault nurse examiner, SANE for short.
A lot of people don't know what they're allowed to receive, what they can receive, what they can ask for. That's the best part about being a SANE nurse, is giving my patient that choice and that right back and letting them know what is available to them.
Tammy Scarlett has been a sexual assault nurse examiner for nearly 5 years. She says she treats both men and women of all ages, but a majority of her patients are adult women, and the exam varies depending on each situation.
In the kit is everything that we would need in order to send back to the crime lab for evidence collection.
First, they address any medical concerns, and then they go through a history of what happened. Following that, the lengthy and intimate exam starts.
That's where we check out any genitalia, making sure if there's no injury, we can collect evidence, and we can do photo documentation as well.
Amanda says the exam took even longer for her because her body kept going into shock, and she'd start violently shaking all over.
It's incredibly invasive. Many women, myself included, describe it as being re-traumatized because they are combing through everything looking for evidence.
However, that evidence is necessary to find the offender and get justice. SANE nurses are able to provide one-on-one care. And that's why Jennifer Pierce Weeks, the executive director of the International Association of Forensic Nurses, says they're trying to fill the gap of a SANE nurse shortage.
No patient who has been sexually assaulted should ever walk into an emergency department in the United States and be turned away for care.
Although the work is rewarding, Pierce Weeks says part of the reason for the shortage is because there is so much turnover of SANE nurses.
To listen to patients' trauma histories can be equally traumatic to the clinicians who are caring for the patients.
Tammy says it is incredibly tough, but she also says it's the best job she's ever had.
I decided to become a SANE nurse because I honestly think I was given a great gift of compassion.
I had incredible SANE nurses. I had incredible psychologists and therapists. I'm so lucky for that. And I feel that it's my gift to other survivors to speak for them when maybe they're not able to speak for themselves for whatever reason that might be.
I'm Elizabeth Ruiz reporting.
Elizabeth, thank you. Next in our lineup here on the Now, we know that affording childcare and not having adequate maternity leave can be a challenge for moms. There's something that managers, though, can change that can help. How it could benefit people who aren't parents as well.